Welcome in. I'm Kimberly. This is Journey to the New Earth. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your life to spend it with me. I'm really glad you're here. We're going to have a great show tonight. I have so much information to share with you guys. I've been making notes all day long, rewatching videos, collating information. So I'm really thrilled to be sharing what I've got for you. But first of all, first I got to close my email inbox. Sorry about that. And make sure that we've got some quiet time to talk. All right. So I'm just doing a little bit of technical stuff here. Okay. All right. I think we're good. If you can see me and hear me, give me a yes in the chat box or 5x5 or something to let me know that you're seeing me and hearing me and that sort of thing, so I don't go talking and no one's there. So if anyone could do that for me, that would be great. I know that the comments sometimes are a little bit delayed, so it might take a second for that to get in. But I do want to say hello to who's here. Hi, Karen from Western Colorado. Lottie, so glad to see you. I'm so glad we're going to have lunch together tomorrow. Libby, thanks for stopping by. Kim from Knoxville. Renee, you've been on my mind all day today. That's why you're here. So thank you for stopping in. Jennifer, hello from Tacoma, Washington. Oxford, Michigan. Christopher Rivers from Blairsville, Diane from Greensville, South Carolina, and Andre from Elijah, Georgia. Haven't heard of that town yet. So, like I said, I have so much information to share with you today about what's going on the planet. I've collated what I think are the important points, and I'll be hopping into that in a few minutes. Now, I am taking questions. I can't promise that I'm going to be able to catch all the questions as they go by, because it's just me. I don't have a moderator or anyone pulling the questions in. So I'll have to actually read the chat box. So if you have questions, make sure that you post them and I will do my very best to address them. And if it's a burning question and I miss it, feel free to repost it down at the bottom, because it might be up top and I and it went right by me. First, I want to talk about a little bit of housekeeping stuff. I want to apologize. I rescheduled this video a couple of times, and I'll tell you why. I was actually in California at a UFO conference that Stephen Greer put on, one of his CE5 conferences where you go to lectures during the day and then you're out underneath the stars looking for, I don't know, our neighbors. And I had intended to do a live from there, but the Airbnb that I was staying in did not have the level of Wi-Fi that I would have needed to make that happen. So I apologize if you were chasing me around trying to get this. I just waited until I came back home and just rescheduled it. So apologize for that. The second thing is, and this is kind of a fun one, Jill Feeler, who's been on the channel a couple of times, she's a channel. She is going to be coming back on August 21st. I have my notes down here. So if you see me referring to something down in the corner, that's what I'm looking at is my notes, because I have so much to talk about. She's coming back on August 21st, and she's going to be doing speed readings. So if you would like to have a speed reading with Jill Feeler live on YouTube, which means you're going to have to come on to the channel, Jill will be doing that, and we're going to select a few viewers to do that with. And let me tell you what, it's freakish. It is absolutely freakish. She did a couple for me. And how it goes is that you simply give her a name, and it could be a friend or a family member or a coworker or anybody. Give her the name, and she just pops in with a speed read about that person. And when she did it for me, it was so right on. It was like I said, it was a little freakish. So if you would like to be on the list of those that we choose from for a speed reading on August 21st, it'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So wherever you are, just know that that's the time that you'll need to be prepared to come on, and we'll actually speed read live. If you would like to be one of those people that we choose from, go ahead and send an email to care, CARE, as in I care about you, care at journeytothenewEarth.com. Care at journeytothenewEarth.com. Just put speed reading in the subject box and let her know that you would like to be added to the list. I think we'll probably be able to do maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 speed reading sessions during that hour because we're gonna do a little bit of chatting first, and then we'll get to the speed reading. So again, care at journeytothenewEarth.com if you would like to be included in that. Oh, good, you hear me perfectly. Thank you, Joyce. Oh, Kimberly. Hey, I like that name. Oh my gosh, who stopped complaining? That's so sweet. So just called me a rock star. I'll take that any doggone day. Thank you. I appreciate that. I am going to talk a little bit about things that if you've been watching for a while, you might know. So just be patient with me because there's some new people here and they kind of don't know the drill. First, I want to talk about what I'm doing here on the channel. Journey to the New Earth is kind of your, I don't know, your guidebook or your tour guide of what we're going through on the planet right now. And it's my intention to lay down a lot of good information about the true nature of our reality. The story we've been told is not true. It's a bunch of baloney. But I'm trying to lay down information about what we've been told versus what is the truth. And then as we move forward on this journey, and it is going to be a journey, it's been a journey for a while and it's going to continue on. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to do my very best to give you guys the best information that I think is useful and pertinent in order for you to feel comfortable, to kind of understand what's going on around you, to be able to work with your energy to stay centered and make choices that are really going to work for you. So that's the whole goal of this channel and what I'm doing, and I'm really working very hard at it, and I enjoy it. So it's not as though it's a burden. I absolutely love it, and this is the kind of information that I'm searching out anyway. So I just decided I'll go ahead and share because I am keeping my finger on the pulse of what's happening with the planet very, very consistently. In other words, I'm really committed to doing this because it's interesting to me and I enjoy it. So that's the first thing. So think of this as kind of these little lives that I do is kind of the Reader's Digest version of what's going on the planet. So what I do is I go out to all kinds of different sources. They could be off-planet sources, they could be people in the know on the planet, and I sort of correlate or collate the information that I think is important or is something that will help us make better choices or understand the environment, and that's what I bring to you guys. So I'll be doing these from time to time. Now, I do want to ask you a question, and I'm hoping that you're going to answer over in the chat. And it's just a personal preference. I want to find out what you guys are enjoying the most. Do you enjoy the lives when I come on live and live with a guest, or do you prefer the pre-taped edited videos? That would be important because I'm really kind of working with the schedule and working with the content to find out what's easiest for you to access and what works best for you as far as getting you good information. So if you could let me know over in the chat which you prefer, maybe you like both. Both is fine. But if there's one that you prefer much more than the others, or you feel like the information is so much more useful than the other, let me know because I'm very flexible and I can, work around what works for you. So, love it a guest. So, with a guest, do you like it live or do you like it pre-taped? And if it doesn't make any difference, that's fine too. All right. So let's go ahead and start talking about what's going on the planet. And again, like I said, my notes are down. It's probably over here for you guys. And so I'll be referring to them. That's what I'm doing when I'm looking down. Let's see. The the title for this particular span of time that we're looking at is I'm the boss of me. So just keep that in mind as we go through all the information. And there's some pretty interesting information I'm going to share tonight. So stick around. I'm the boss of me. That is the theme. Now, what is happening on the planet, particularly for those of you who are new, and I'll try to explain it in a condensed version that's easy to understand. And then I also have resources for you in the description box below the video of where you can go to get additional information. Some of you already know this, and you might hear something new this time, but this is what's going on the planet. We are in the end stages of a takeover of planet Earth. Now, if this is new to you, you're going to say, what are you talking about? There has been a takeover plan implemented on planet Earth. Is this unique or new? No, it's not. As a matter of fact, this happens in our galaxy, especially the Milky Way galaxy. There's been several planets that have been taken over. That means controlled. So the population there becomes almost enslaved and really serves those who have taken over the planet. That's what's going on planet Earth. And you're going to say, well, who are these people? They're another civilization who like to do this. And what's going on Earth is not unique. It's really a plug and play system. And what I mean by that is that the the collective that is working or was working to take over Earth has a program that they have found that works when you're talking with particularly humanoids. There's lots of humans out there in the galaxy and in the universe. We're just Earth humans. So they have devised a plan that works, and it's kind of a step-by-step plan. It takes a long time. I think the plan that we're just coming to the final stages of has been in place for about 500 years. So that's a long time. So we are seeing the end stages of that takeover plan. What has happened with Earth is those other civilizations around us who are of higher frequency, higher wisdom. I don't know, not necessarily better. They're just in a different place as far as their consciousness. The decision has been made that this is not going to happen with Earth. It's happened to several planets in the Milky Way galaxy. And the attitude with the other civilizations who are probably, you could qualify them as more advanced, is as far as Earth goes, that far no further. The line has been drawn in the sand. That's why we're seeing so many channelers come online, so many people opening up their skills and abilities for telepathy and being able to see into other dimensions. That's what's going on because we are being helped in an enormous way from other civilizations. I almost think at times that they're working harder to make sure this takeover plan does not succeed than the Earth humans are, because I think most of the Earth humans don't realize what's going on. But when you look around at all the chaos on the planet and you can't figure out what's going on, well, that's what's behind it. So the latest that I have heard specifically, and if you've heard different, put it over in the chat box so we can learn from you. What I have heard is that the civilization or the collective that was working to take over Earth has left. They said they looked ahead, saw the energy patterns, realized it wasn't going to work, and they took off. Well, what happens when a collective tries to take over the planet is they enlist people from that planet. So what's left in the takeover plan are the humans on Earth that have been working with the multidimensionals to take over the Earth. They're the ones that are left. So they're flying solo right now. They don't have the experience, they don't have the deep knowledge, they don't have the wisdom. So that's why it's looking very clunky and clumsy and very, very obvious because they don't have the same, I don't know, deep skill set in this sort of thing as the collective that was trying to take over the planet. Now, you're going to say, which collective? I think that where we go first is we go to the reptilians, but The answer is I'm not sure. I don't know that I've heard anyone name a particular collective. If they have, then I missed it. But if it's a big deal for you, put it over in the comments because I always go back and read the chat afterwards. I'll try to find out. If you need more information on that, or if that just seems like so weird, and why wouldn't it seem weird? I have listed below in the description box below the video a couple of resources. One is from Wendy Kennedy and the Palladians. There is a video that talks about the takeover plan and how we're kind of being messed with. And there's another video from Penny Kelly that will go in depth. Both of them go way in depth. I think one's an hour and a half and one's 2.5 hours. So you'll learn as much as you need to know from either one of those videos, or you can watch them both and you'll really get a better understanding. But if you're a little bit concerned about the the nutty stuff, the goofy stuff that's going on the planet, that is why we're in the very, very end stages. So what's happening now is kind of a power struggle between those of us who are, sovereign humans who do not want to be controlled and the controllers that are trying very, very hard to implement all those systems that will literally turn this into, a true kind of prison planet. So more information is in the description box. I do have another resource if you're more of a reader than a watcher. You can pick up this book by Penny Kelly. It's called The Robes. This has been out for a long time. You can get it right off of Amazon. And what this does is it walks through the more modern day events for the takeover plan. And it will really raise the hair on your arms and the back of your neck when you go through this book and realize it was written 20 something years ago. And you're seeing things today that are happening in this book. So if you're more of a reader than a watcher or a listener, the robes might be good information. And if you haven't read this and this stuff really, you're interested in this stuff, it's a great book. It really, really is. So it's money well spent. You'll love it. I've had it for several years now. So those are two resources. So now we're in the final throes of this takeover plan. And I like to look at it as what it's like to remodel the kitchen. So what's happening right now, because the takeover plan is not really going to plan for the naughty boys, and we'll call them the naughty boys during this video, and you will watch me use different words or alternate words during this talk because I don't want to trigger any of the little bots that are listening for language and to take down the video. So I'll be using alternate words, but I'm pretty sure you're going to get the information. So the naughty boys are getting a little desperate. It's a bit of a tug of rope back and forth. They get a few steps ahead. We pull them a few steps back and forth. And we can see that, we can clearly see that. So when you're remodeling the kitchen, which is what we're doing, we're remodeling a planet. And what that means is all the systems that have been put into place that we thought were supporting us, we really did, are really not supporting us. And let's look at them. Government falling apart. The medical industry falling apart. Big pharma falling apart. The educational system falling apart. The food supply and the supply chain falling apart. Everything is falling apart. And actually, I was talking to a friend a few days ago when I was in California, and I said, can you think of anything that's working well? And we couldn't come up with a single one. So all of the systems are falling apart because they're not sustainable and they really were not for our benefit. We thought the government was taking care of us. They really weren't. They were really taking care of themselves at our expense. We have spent most of our lives, those of us who are a little bit older, pushing money uphill. So as we worked harder, our dollar is worth less, our lives are more stressful, we have less free time, and those people, those few people at the very top who have tons of money have more tons now because of us. So the whole system has been designed to really enslave us in a very subtle and tricky way over the decades, but now it's all falling apart. So that's where we are right now. We're remodeling the kitchen and we're tearing down all the old cabinets. What happens with a remodel is the demolition and things being a mess is a big part of the whole process. It takes longer than installing the new cabinets and sticking in the new refrigerator and the new dishwasher. So this tearing down of the systems is going to take a while because it just does. They're very ingrained. People are working in these systems, they're relying on these systems. So the takedown is going to take longer. Once we start building back up, that's gonna go a lot faster because then we have more of a free society. We're not as constrained with the stress and all the nonsense that's going on the planet. We're more able to be creative, work together in unity, and things are gonna go quicker. So again, the title of this video or the theme for this video is I'm the boss of me. And what we're doing as humanity is we are marching forward to really step into our power, step into our personal responsibility, and to understand and really integrate that the government's not going to take care of us, the medical industry is not going to take care of us, the supply chain's not going to take care of us. All these systems that we thought were going to somehow be our mommy or daddy are not, that we're going to step into our own power. And if each one of us can say, I'm the boss of me and really mean it, we're going to get there a lot sooner. Now, if you're more into the new age lingo, you could say things like, oh, I want to become actualized, or, I want to integrate all parts of me to become one. Well, I just get cut to the chase and, let's all decide that we're the boss of ourselves and we're going to make decisions about our lives, what works for us, what goes into our body, how we design our day, what foods we eat, what kind of transportation we want. We're the boss of us. And that's really going to serve you a long way. So let's talk about what has been said about how we can manage the stress and the uncomfortable surprises that are going to be coming over the next 6, 8 months. And then I'm going to get into some more, boots on the ground, kind of juicy political, topical stuff. But first of all, what I have heard repeatedly from all sources is one of the most important things that we can do. And those of you who are watching this, you're leading the charge on this. Know that you are the ones that are going to be setting the standard, showing the way, being an example. You're the ones that are the leaders of this. That's why you're interested in this kind of content. And that most important thing that we can do is manage our energy system, that energy field around us, because that really does define our experience. So the more that we can manage our energy field, stay in a higher vibration, which I know is hard when all this goofy stuff is going on, but the more that we can stay there, the more that resonance really clicks into our body and it's easier for us to stay there over time. So, whatever practice you have, if it's meditation, if it's Tai Chi, if it's going for walks, whatever practice that you have in order to maintain your energy field, really, really lean on that now because the stress level in on the planet, in the country, and all the countries around the world, almost every country has been affected by this takeover plan. There's very few governments that have not been captured. The whole planet is feeling stress, and I know you guys can feel it too. I can feel it when I go to the grocery store. People are just a little bit on edge. They're quick to anger. They're quick to become victim mentality. They're just off center. That's why those of us who understand frequency and understand that we're all energy. We are an electrical system in a human meat suit. Those of us who understand it and can really hold that resonance, people are going to rely on that. They're going to see it. They're going to see that you're calmer, that you're not buying into all the drama, that you're peaceful, that you've got all this going on, and they're going to want what you have. And so that frequency that you're holding is just like a tuning fork. It's going to help them get there too. So maintenance of that frequency is really important. It's important to have a practice and caring for your energy field. And what does that mean? That means staying heart-centered and very, very calm. And how do you get heart-centered? Think of something that you love. Think of your kids or your pets or I don't know, where you like to hike or whatever gives you that warm, gooey feeling inside. Click there first because that's going to give you that vibrational frequency that you need, and then just start working with that frequency so that you really recognize it and you're able to click into it sooner. So there are some cool things happening on the planet right now with solar flares. We've got the Lions Gate coming up. We are moving into a different location so that we're getting more direct energy from the central sun. And that energy can help up level our frequency and crystalline it so that it becomes more stable. Here's how you want to work with that. If you don't recognize the solar flares or the different astrological positions where there's a lot of energy coming onto the planet, it's almost like, oh, you might smell a good, tasty meal, but you don't eat the meal. You're just smelling it. So you get a little bit of it, but you don't get the full experience. If you can keep track of there human resonance, when the solar flares are happening, when all these energetic incidences are coming onto Earth and participate in them. And when I say participate, that's no more than saying, I open myself up to bring in that energy and integrate it. Your energy system is going to continue to expand and it's going to raise. And by really working with it, in other words, not just walking by that meal that smells good, but actually sitting down and eating that meal, that frequency is going to really come into your system and become integrated and start crystallizing so that your frequency is higher and higher and higher. So, what happens when we do that? All the goofy stuff doesn't affect us in the same way anymore because it's down here and we're up here. So while you may see it on X or you may see it on a YouTube show or the news, you're up here. So now you're in observer mode and you're just going, oh, well, look at that. What do I think about that? So really working with your frequency is probably the most important thing you can do. And I know you guys understand that because you're here. If if you didn't understand it, you wouldn't be watching this video. So that's why you're here. So really work with your energy system. And I kind of like make a game out of it. I am always saying I am open to new frequencies that are for my highest and greatest good. I am open to integrating them. So I am telling the universe over and over again that, yeah, I want the upgrades. I want the upgrades. So what it does is that my higher self is going to know that I am more than ready and I'm asking for it and I'm bugging them about it that I want these upgrades. And that's just an affirmation to move us in that direction. So first and foremost, really work with your energy field. I know you guys know how to do that or you wouldn't be here. Okay, so any questions? All right, so Debbie Do says, so you're saying not to react to all of the insanity on a daily basis. I don't, but is that the idea? I just have to focus on the fact that every little thing is going to be all right eventually. Yeah, and it's not buying into it. And I really look at goofy things. And when I say goofy, I'm talking about the unfortunate things that are happening on the planet. I call them goofy because I just don't even want to buy into the emotion of them. So when I see the goofy things, I just go, "Oh, wow, look at that." Isn't that interesting? And I don't invest a lot of emotion in it. I make sure that my energy field stays as high and centered as possible. Now, am I always successful? No, no one's always successful. I don't think anybody's always successful, but we get better as we keep working at it. So that's what's going to go on. All right. I am, let's see, in a vision, I saw our future president turn over the power to the authority that would enslave us. Wow. That, that must have been quite the dream. All right. Now I want to, we're going to hop into kinda I don't know if you would call it the juicy stuff, but this is more the boots on the ground info that I have gotten from different channels. Now, I have been following channelers and mediums and psychics and that sort of thing for a long time now. I really have kind of condensed it down to a few that I really trust and I really rely on, and their information is solid and good. So, this part that I'm going to be going through now is not my opinion. I'm simply sharing what I've heard. And I'm aware that not everyone has the time or the inclination to sit through all these videos or sift through all this information. So, that's why I'm kind of putting together this little Reader's Digest version and trying to bring to you what I think is important. Do I agree with everything I'm talking about tonight? Well, most of it, and most of it is just information that I want to share with you from very, very reliable channels. And some of it's kind of surprising. The first we're going to do is walk into the political arena. And I want to preface this by saying, I am not red team, blue team. I'm on team humanity. I am so far beyond our political system in my desire. I am to the place where I really want us to work from unity consciousness, where the most qualified person in any situation comes forward, kind of, gives their wisdom to the situation. We work through it, and then they fade back into the rest of us, and the next person comes up who's qualified for the next challenge. I am not a fan of the political system we have on this planet, but this is where we are right now. We're an emerging civilization. We're working through processes. So that's where we're at. We're still teams. We clearly there's a lot of emotion going on with that right now. So what I'm going to share with you is what I thought was really good information or interesting information, and it's very, very specific. I'm not saying I'm a fan of the information. This is just what's going on. So let's talk about the Trump incident in Pennsylvania, where someone was trying to take Trump out. I watched that very quickly. I watched the clip of it very quickly on X, like just a few minutes after it happened. I didn't see it live, but I did see a video on X. And I can remember watching that video thinking, wow, wow. And I was not emotionally engaged, and I couldn't get emotionally engaged because I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. So, what I'm hearing from a very, very reliable channel, and I'm in private groups for a couple of different channels. In other words, I'm hearing stuff that doesn't go out on YouTube. It doesn't go, it's private groups. So, I pay a little bit extra to get probably more, specific information about what's going on. And I find that it's really valuable. So, the what happened in Pennsylvania was actually quite interesting because Trump the what was supposed to happen is for it to be successful. In other words, the the person the person doing the shooting was supposed to be successful. What happened is there was a timeline shift. And doggone it, you guys, I didn't think to ask who shifted the timeline. I was just so fascinated with the information. I wished I would have, but I didn't. There was a timeline shift so that it became an injury as opposed to a completion. And what happened in that timeline shift is Trump was subject to an incredible download of information. So you could almost categorize it as a walk-in because the information and the history and the frequencies and the vibration that were downloaded into him are to the point that it's almost a different person. Now, why did they do that? Because the red team is better than the blue team? No. I have never heard a single channel, off-planet channel, say, "This politician's great, that one's the winner." No, they're all like, "No, none of it's good. None of it's good." So there is corruption and capture on both sides of the aisle. The reason that the timeline was shifted is because of the personality of Trump, where and I'm just now repeating what I heard, so don't come at me in the comments about being a Democrat or Republican because I'm not. So what happened is both parties are totally captured. Both parties are not working for humanity. They're working for the controllers. The controllers have captured all the governments around the world, including ours, and both sides of the government. The reason that the timeline was shifted for Trump is because I and these are the words the channel used because of his mouth, that he doesn't have a filter and he blurts out the truth and no one believes it because it's so fantastical or weird, but he's telling the truth and then eventually people catch on. And that's just part of his personality that although he's a bit of a puppet in ways, he's not a very good puppet because he's hard to control. He goes off on tangents, he says things out, off the cuff. He just tells it like it is and sometimes not in a very, maybe I would prefer it to be a little bit more emotionally mature. So that's why. And what I heard is that Biden is a total puppet. His replacement is a total puppet for the naughty boys. Trump is puppeted, but he's just not a very good puppet. He's just a little bit too, I don't know, he's kind of Wild West, he's just always shooting off his mouth. So that's what the timeline change is. Now, did they say that, oh, this administration or, is this going to be the shift and the change? No. It's just that it was a little bit better of a choice. I still have not heard a single off-planet channel say that politician is awesome. And I have asked and if you're disappointed at that, I'm disappointed at it too. But that's just where we're at on the planet right now. We're not to that unity consciousness yet. So this particular channel said Trump is going to win the election. Um, Kamala doesn't. It's just not going to happen. And my sense is that that is what's going to happen. Now, maybe things will shift between now and then because certainly the timeline shifted about whether that attempt was going to be successful. So, what's going on with that whole thing and what's behind it? Part of it was so that we could see very, very clearly the machinations behind it. In other words, before we had social media, before we had citizen journalists to the degree that we have now, something happens, and by golly, within 60 seconds, it's up on X. So the information is different the way that it's disseminated now. So, one of the things that came out of that is when the deep state or the naughty boys would pull off something, the holes were really small and it was hard to see through the holes to see what the truth is. Now the holes are huge and everybody can see what happened. I mean, the narrative is crumbling. So those three-letter agencies that were in charge of making sure that safety was a priority at that event. We all see what's going on. We all see it. And us all seeing it is the point. That's the point to be able to raise our consciousness, not just go along with the narrative or wait to be told what to think, but for us to see it realize the narrative that we've gotten has been a bunch of baloney and understand what the true nature of our reality is. So that's what that was all about. Now, I want to share with you an interesting thing about the presidential election in 4 years. What I've heard is that Trump is going to be in office for 4 years. He's going to be protected because it's almost like, and this is my opinion based on what I heard, it's almost like he's the better choice of a whole bunch of bad choices just because of that mouth of his, that no filter thing. So he's going to be protected. This is what I've heard for 4 years in office. And then we're going to have the opportunity to vote in whole new candidates. In other words, it's not going to be the old guard anymore. It's going to be the new guard. And we're going to have two choices. One choice that's way for humanity, like exactly the direction we want to go in, like total humanity, total love for humanity. The other choice is gonna be total control. So, that's exciting to me because all of a sudden now we've got a really good choice, not necessarily in the specific person, but in the philosophy of that candidacy or that platform. So, that's exciting. So, that's the political scene. I better I'm gonna hop over to the comments right now because maybe, um, people have some questions about that. Um, let's see. Little bitty drunk monkey says, "I'm going to take up drinking and smoking." I know, isn't that funny? Let's see. Are you saying don't vote or get involved with campaign or poll watching? I'm not saying that, and to be honest with you, we're getting to a part where I'm gonna say absolutely hang with those people that are your people, that are going in the direction that you think is the best for humanity. Use your voice, gather together, work with them together because that's how the change is going to happen. So, absolutely, I would definitely get involved. Kimberly, I hear you. Don't get distracted. Try to stay in a state of growth and peace. Not a fan of the political system. I'm not either. Um, Let's see. Okay, so Yvonne says, "No one tried to kill Trump. It was a hoax. The world is a stage." I thought that too. I thought I could really see why some people said that was a hoax because you could look at it in one way and think that. So the fact that I heard this made me go, "Oh, okay. Well, I can understand that. I can understand behind that." All right. So let's see. Uh, let's see, Lucida 1818, I've heard the name Archons. Yeah, I've heard that too. Um, let's see. Now we're going to go into something that I think is really exciting. And if you're watching content like this, I think you're going to friggin' love this. So we are moving into a time in 2025, really soon, really soon. 2025 is going to be here before you know it, where the Prime Directive is starts to loosen up. And what I mean by that is the Prime Directive is the contract where other civilizations cannot come onto Earth and mess with them. Now you're going to say, "Wait a minute, Kimberly, you just told me there was a takeover plan for Earth." Yeah, they're breaking the rules. The people that are doing that. The other civilizations that are adhering or honoring the Prime Directive, that's why they have to do things like channel, like get someone agree to channel. In other words, that's free will from the human that's going to channel that information. They cannot at this time come onto the planet and start working with us because it's kind of like teaching your toddler to tie their shoes. If you keep tying your toddler's shoes, they're never going to learn it. And a lot of times when you're teaching your toddler lessons, there's frustration, there's failure, there's fits, there's all kinds of stuff. But eventually your toddler learns to tie their shoes. That's what's going on with planet Earth. We're a level one civilization. We're just barely functioning. We're still killing each other for crying out loud. So we've got to learn to tie our own shoes. And once we start doing that, once we're sure that, I'm the boss of me and we are running the planet in a way that's sustainable, that supports each and every person on the planet, then, that's a different situation. But right now, we're the toddler trying to learn to tie their shoes. So that Prime Directive really outlines what other civilizations can do with an emerging civilization. Well, that contract, some of the terms of it start loosening up or start ending in 2025. It doesn't all end all at once. In other words, there are some things that loosen up, and then another thing loosens up, and another thing loosens up. So what that means is in 2025, those of us who are open can start working with multidimensionals. In other words, civilizations from other planets, more advanced civilizations. So I think that there's going to be a really exciting opportunity for those of us that are very aware that no, we're not alone in the universe. There's a whole bunch of neighbors. Those of us who are really aware of that and are interested in working towards a higher consciousness on earth can really start working with these people. So how would I do that? This is how I've done it, and I do it. I say I'm open. I'm absolutely open to hearing from and working with higher civilizations for the greater good of the planet Earth. That's all you need to do. You don't need to twirl around 3 times, jump up and down on your feet, and do the hokey pokey. You just need to assert with the universe that, yeah, I'm willing to do that. So in 2025, things are going to start changing. Now, um, why? So, all this drama on Earth, why does it keep ratcheting up? Let's talk about that. The reason is that most people, the masses, not you guys, because you guys are here, you get it, but the masses are still sound asleep. And I heard one channel say they just keep hitting the snooze button. They just keep hitting the snooze button. They just keep hitting the snooze button. And you guys have you come across these people. They're the ones that still think the government loves them and cares about them. They're the ones that still think, well, all the things that we no longer think. So the normies or the masses, they are not awake yet. So the more it ratchets up on earth, the point and the purpose of that is to wake them up because we need them. We need all that energy on the planet in order to be able to shift things. So things over the next 6 months are going to be dramatic. And I have heard that over and over again. They're going to be dramatic. They could be uncomfortable if you buy into them. There's just a lot of stuff that's going to happen to create an awareness in those that just don't want to face reality. So know that going in, that this is not for you. This drama is not for you. You already get it. This is for the people. And, you've got neighbors that do that, or coworkers, or family members. Oh my gosh, I've got a few family members that just are, clueless. They've got to start waking up. And so all this drama is all around them changing their perception of reality and really getting that these systems don't work and to get on board because we need their energy in order to shift things on the planet. All right, so that's that. All right, here's an interesting one. And again, I'm going to my notes. If you wonder what I'm looking at, I'm looking at my note. The gal earlier who said, should we not vote and not participate? Absolutely, you should. And this is almost a direct quote from a channel. Find like-minded communities and speak up. Use your voice. Linda Nichols said on my channel, your word is your wand. There is so much power in words. So that's why Cliff High is always very specific when he's talking and very specific when he's being interviewed. Words matter. Words matter. So absolutely find like-minded groups who are going in the direction you want to go in. Join up and use your voice. Your opinion matters. Your voice matters. And I heard a really, really big caution about getting involved in groups that criticize. They're all about saying what the other people that are doing are wrong. All that does is create more power for that energy, and it ends up just backfiring. So the trick is to decide where you want the planet to go, where you want this civilization, this collective that are Earth humans to go, and work on that direction because it really, really matters. It really matters. We are in a time right now where all our structures are coming down, and we better be ready with some alternatives to say, this is what we want to do. And that's when the creativity of humanity is really going to click in. It's going to be exciting and fun. I can hardly wait. But we do have to go through this section right now. So I'm going to look at to see if there's some questions, and then I'm going to talk with you about how to prepare for this. And I have some ideas about that. All right. Renee says, absolutely time to speak up. The time for being afraid of controversy must be over. Yeah, that's true. Thank you for that, Renee. The normies will wake up when national news on TV changes and tells the truth. I don't know. Do you guys think that's ever going to happen? I just don't know. The roots of evil have to be revealed. Cliff High 20 years ago in his webbot predicted secrets revealed. And I think that, and that's from Nelson. Nelson, I think we're seeing that right now. I mean, definitely we're seeing so much information come out. It just has to get to the masses because we need that body of energy in order to really move forward. Let's see, what else have we got here? It's very difficult to wake them up. I know it is. And I'll tell you, I've tried and I've failed miserably and just wasted, you know, energy and good relationships trying to do it. It's almost like they just have to come to themselves, and then they can come to you because they know that you understand and start asking you questions. So here's where we're going as a collective. We are moving out of conditional relationships. What does that mean? Those are fancy words. What that means is that right now we live in a society, and it's been intentionally embedded in us that I only give you something if you're going to give me something back. In other words, I will sell you this for a certain amount of money. That's a conditional exchange. I will go out on a date with you if you do this for me, or I will be a good family member as long as you're loving and a good family member back to me. Those are conditional relationships where we're always looking for an exchange. Where we're moving to when we're higher civilizations, and I don't mean higher as in better, they're just dealing with a different frequency level and different lessons in those frequency levels. So we'll just say that they're a little, there's a different level of wisdom there. How they work is that, people are just open, and they give and they take as needed. You never take more than you need. You always give what you can. If you've got extra, you find out who needs it. In other words, it becomes non-conditional. And the interesting thing is, if you talk to someone from a higher or a different civilization, it's like that's just natural for them. They think it's weird that we're so conditional, that there's got to be an exchange. So we're moving into a change of philosophy, and more of a unity consciousness. And when you have a unity consciousness, it changes your perception from me to us, and you start looking at things as in us. So structures are collapsing. Be sure that you know what you want to do. This is our opportunity to build a civilization that we want. So this is where we're headed. And I can remember the first time someone said to me, what do you want? Well, what kind of world do you want to live in? And I thought, you might as well ask a fish what they want other than water. Then ask me that question. I was just dumbfounded. This was a few years back. But now I really get it. This is our opportunity to become a unique society. We could also look at how other civilizations have moved forward, and we can decide, do we want to do that, or do we want to do something different? This is our collective. This is our planet. This is our reality system. We get to decide how we want to create it. Now, if you're just stumped at that, I've got another book for you. Again, it's from Penny Kelly. It's called The Revival. You will be surprised. This goes through, I think it's 12 sectors of any society. It's government, education, food, housing, um, systems management, that sort of thing. I think there's 12 sectors in here, and there are so many eye-opening concepts and thoughts in this book that if you're really interested in being actively participatory in creating the new world, you'll enjoy this book because it'll make you think about all these things that you never would have thought about. I mean, who thinks about these things? We thought we had our systems in place. Well, their systems are going away. So the revival, I have these listed in the description box, both the robes and the revival. They're both well written. Penny's a very good writer, very clear. So you might enjoy this, and it will really help you have a much more in-depth and educated understanding of how it goes to build out a society. So keep in mind, this is the last thing I want to say before I go into how to prepare, or at least how I'm preparing. And I guess this is going to be a little bit long, but there we are. So we are getting so much off-planet help. And I've really come to the position that unless we totally all just drop the ball, we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna have the opportunity to build a new society on a, new planet, new human, which sounds so fun. I hope I'm still alive by then. So we are getting so much off-planet help. We are the greatest show in the galaxy. This is the focus of so many collectives. They're channeling in, they're watching us, they're doing as much as they can to help us. So just know, and I say all the time, thank you guys. I am so grateful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because they are taking their energy to make sure that we make it. And that's important. I mean, that's important that they're doing that because it's going to shift the whole nature of our galaxy and the universe. I mean, this is a big deal what's going on the planet. And if you're here right now, which I'm guessing you are, you wouldn't be watching this, this is an e-ticket. You knew how important this time was when you incarnated. So let's give it our very best and make sure that I always make sure that I show my appreciation to those collectives that are really working hard to make sure that we get it. Okay, so now I'm going to share how I'm preparing for the next 6 months because it's going to be goofy and dramatic and surprising and challenging. And do I have any information about what's going to happen? Not specifically, because it hasn't even really been determined yet because the frequencies have not solidified over each one of these events. But keep in mind, we are in the final throes for all the marbles. So the naughty boys, they're for them to not know they've lost, they pretty much know they've lost, but they're more than happy to take everybody down with them. So things are going to get goofy because they're going to get desperate, which they already are. You can see it. They're getting desperate and they're messing up and they're getting caught in everything they're doing and all of that. So it's going to get goofy. And this is how I'm preparing. You can use this as a launching off point for your own ideas of how you can prepare. There might be some good ideas in here. Maybe you just don't agree with how I'm doing it at all, which is fine, but I just encourage you to think about it. The first thing I'm doing is I have made sure, and I've made sure of this for the past few years, that I have food and water for myself and my animals for several months. Now, you might say, "What are you living in fear?" No, I just like to eat. I feel better when I eat, and my animals feel better when they eat. So keep in mind that we turn on the light switch or the faucet at the pleasure of our overlords. They could at any moment take out our systems because they're just into doing dramatic stuff to get their way. And what I know is I'm the boss of me, and it's not the government's job to feed me and my animals, and it's not the state's job to feed me and my animals, and it's not the supply chain's job to feed me and my animals. It's no one's job but my job, and I understand that these systems that we take advantage of right now are great. I love it just as much as anybody that I can get online and order something and have it delivered to my front porch. That's sweet. I love that. But I'm also really, really clear that that's a system. It's not an entitlement. I'm not owed that. No, I'm not guaranteed that. That is a convenience based on the system we have set up. It could end tomorrow. And what I do is that I make sure that I'm taking care of me. I just feel like it's responsible and mature to make sure that I can take care of myself and my animals if something goes awry, because no one's coming to save me. I'm very clear that the government could give a rip what happens to me. And so I just am mature about that. You may choose to do it differently. That's absolutely fine. I just find that for me, it makes me feel comfortable that if things go down tomorrow, that I'll be fine until, we can all work together as a community to find some alternatives. So that's first and foremost for me. Then the second one is and this is going to sound a little interesting because we're going into these really challenging times. I have made sure that my life is a very happy place to be. I have happy hobbies. I have a happy home life. I am peaceful. I make sure that I'm surrounded by people who are pleasant because there's plenty of stress going on from the naughty boys. I want to make sure that my life is a really safe, peaceful place to be because when I do that, it's easier for me to keep my vibration at a place that's going to be at the level with the experiences that I want to have. If I am stressed out, if I'm depressed, if I'm angry, if I'm, disappointed, my energy level, my vibration is going to sink, and then I'm going to start having these experiences that I don't want to have. So I have very, very happy hobbies. And what I have done is I've thought, okay, what feels good? What feels peaceful? What do I like to do? What brings me joy? And I do those. In addition, when I go out, I don't think I'm a stinker of a person, but I'm not necessarily the nicest person on the planet. I'm sort of normal average. I am going above average now as far as really trying to be kind and thoughtful to the bagger at the grocery store, or the guy that runs the car wash, or whoever that person is at the farmer's market, that's got the 3 dogs in front of me or whatever. I'm trying to just be a little bit extra nice because things are so challenging and we can see it around us. The people that are just they're brittle, they're on edge because it's goofy. We don't know what's going to go on next. So I just try to be a little bit nice. So I have plenty of food and water for myself and my animals. I have very happy hobbies and I make sure that my home life is very peaceful so that when things get goofy around me, I've got a safe place to go. I do try to spread a little bit of kindness. And I know it sounds cliche, but it just makes a difference out in the world. And then the last thing is that I stay in observer mode. I don't get emotionally attached almost never. Almost never. And that has been a skill. It's a skill that you can develop. You're probably there too. You're probably, as good as you want to be at that. Because if we started getting emotionally attached to all the stuff that's gone on, it's like, well, who's running our country right now? Is there really even a president there? If we start getting emotionally attached to the stuff behind that, I mean, that's a very slippery slope and that's a very uncertain place to be. So I just stay in observer mode. Like, how about that? Interesting. How about that? Interesting. So making sure that I'm in a peaceful place, I'm getting plenty of sleep, I'm getting plenty of exercise, all the things you know to do. Your grandmother told you to do it decades ago. So that's where I'm at. All right, everyone. I've been talking for a long time now. I'm going to hop over to the chat. That's kind of what I have the information for you tonight. I hope you found it useful and helpful. It certainly has been helpful for me to find out as much as I can. So I'm going to go through the comments and see if we've got some questions that I'm able to ask. So Kim says, I smile and say hello to everyone. I'm sure people think I'm on something. Great. I love hearing that. I love hearing that. Um, Little Bitty Drunk Monkey 22. I really do want that screen name. Where did it go? Okay, it jumped. I lost it. Um, are you talking about socialism that's always ended badly? No, unity consciousness is not socialism. Oh, another thing that I heard that is along that line, and this is interesting. I heard a channel say the whole DEI thing is done. It's not going to continue because it is a form of racism because you're making choices based on gender or skin color or this and that. And where we're moving is that everybody's going to just be everybody. Everybody's going to be honored. Everybody's going to be appreciated. Everybody's going to be part of the plan. So the whole DEI thing is kind of dead in the water because there's going to be this appreciation not only of the differences in humans, but in the differences in the delightfulness of different cultures, which I really liked hearing because I think the fact that we have so many unique cultures on this planet is fascinating. And it's fun to go into a different culture and see how they do it, what their songs are, what their clothing are, the housing they have, the customs they have. That's fascinating. So apparently we're moving into a time where we're going to really everyone is going to be a part of the pie equally, joyfully, and we're going to have that opportunity to keep those cultures and to keep those differences that are so exciting. At least they are for me. So Peter has a question, but here's the question: if the attempt on Trump was a timeline split, then does that not imply that one reality with a lot of people went the other way and are now living with those consequences? I don't know that, Peter. I wonder if the entire collective shifted the timeline. That that somehow feels like what happened, but I can't confirm it. But anyone who knows a channel or knows someone, that's a good question. And you can put the answer below in this video in the comment section if you come upon it. Um, Let's see. Little bitty drunk monkey. Oh, please. My home looks like a piggly wiggly supermarket. I can feed half the country. I know mine does too. Isn't that funny? Let's see. Tyrants don't create tyranny. Our compliance does. I know. I have never, I don't know that I ever have really gotten mad at the naughty boys because they're just doing what naughty boys do. The times that I get into anger and frustration, and I'm trying to work on this, I'm clearly working on this, is the people who keep complying because that's what continues it. That just makes me crazy. But that's where they're at, and trying to wake them up is has not been successful to me. Let's see. I think, all right, I think, let's see. Hoarding comes from a scarcity mindset. I think hoarding is different than being prepared, and I feel like I'm prepared. Um, Great yet simple suggestions. Oh, thank you, Robin. All right, everyone. I think that's what I have for you this evening. I'm sorry it was a little bit chatty. We're a little over an hour now, but I did want to go over everything as clearly as possible. I hope this was useful for you. If it is, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, helps the algorithm. And let me know in the chat or in the comments below what you'd like to see. I'm open to doing lives, I'm open to doing taped interviews. I Do you like these lives with just me and sharing information? I really do want to be helpful for you in a way that works for you. In other words, that you can take in the information and really feel like, okay, I think I learned something and that, I can really move forward with this. So just know that that's my goal, to make this as helpful as possible. Other than that, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it with me. I really, really do appreciate that. I'm excited about what's to come. I can hardly wait. I do know that it's going to be a little funky for a little while or a little goofy, this and that. I try to keep light words with it. And I think it's just an opportunity for us to really understand how a society shifts, because that's going to serve us in our next incarnation and wherever we go beyond that. So thank you everyone for showing up and for being such a great part of this community. I really, really do appreciate you. All right, everyone, take care. Good night.